Welcome back to our book club scopes on Rising Strong by Brene Brown. I am just loving this book so much. I can't even describe to you how much it is messing with me and encouraging me and causing me to dig deep. And I hope that some of you are also being challenged and inspired and motivated by reading it. So I had planned to read it all last week, but then as I got into it, I just realized there's so much in this book and I cannot just do it in 1 week. So we are extending it through the end of this week. Hopefully I'll be able to get through it this week. But I read some of chapter 7 last night, and there were a couple of quotes that I wanted to share with you. Good morning, Carolyn. This quote on page 139 said, "We can't heal if we can't grieve. We can't forgive if we can't grieve. We run from grief because loss scares us. Yet our hearts reach toward grief because the broken parts want to mend." C.S. Lewis wrote, "No one ever told me that grief felt so like fear. We can't rise strong when we're on the run." This book is really challenging me with the whole, we need to grieve and process hard things in our life. And I thought that I really knew that and kind of had learned that because my husband, his mom died when he was 12 years old. I think I got that right. And he never really grieved his mom's death until after we got married. He kind of just stuffed it all under. And so after we got married, he had so much grief that came out, especially in those first 2 years. And still sometimes it just really hits him. And I realized how important it is whenever you have some big thing to grieve it, because he had just carried this around for so long and it just hurt his heart so much. And for him to grieve and process that was just this very healing thing for him. But when I read this and am reading this book, I'm realizing how much I am not grieving hard things like disappointment in my life. And I loved this quote that she talks about disappointment. She said, "Disappointment is unmet expectation, and the more significant the expectations, the more significant the disappointment. The way to address this is to be upfront about our expectations by taking the time to reality check what we're expecting and why. Expectations often coast along under our radar, making themselves known only after they have bombed something we had high hopes for into rubble." So to really listen to our heart, and if we have expectations, to really work through where are those expectations coming from? What are those expectations? And sometimes we need to express that to someone else, or sometimes we need to let go of those expectations beforehand. Just go into a situation with no expectations. I'll give you one example. So my book, MoneySavingMom Mom, is coming out, and my husband and I were just talking about that. It's coming out tomorrow, and launching a book is, it's a hard thing because you're putting yourself out there and not everybody's going to like it, and people are going to have expectations that you are going to disappoint them. But then there's also the thing of, other people maybe not promoting your book or talking about it or whatever, and there can be disappointment in that. And I've experienced that in my own life with other people when they had a book launch and maybe I didn't promote it as much as they wanted me to, and that hurt them and disappointed them. And so I really wanted, with this book launch, to not have to have that around it. And so went into it, and I actually didn't ask anyone to do anything. Usually with a book launch, you're going to go out and you're going to ask a bunch of people who are like influencers and bloggers and speakers. You're going to say, "Hey, would you post about my book? I have this book coming out. Would you please post about it?" And that's totally okay. But with this book, I just thought, you know what? I'm not going to ask anyone to do anything because I don't want there to be that weirdness of disappointment or unmet expectations. And I just don't want other people to feel that obligation, like they're going to disappoint me. And so actually I sent out the book to a bunch of people last week, but I wrote a letter with the book that I sent out to these people. And I said, I just want to let you know, I'm sending this to you because you're my friend. And whether you do anything with this book, post about it or not post about it, changes nothing about our friendship. And so just really clearly communicating my expectations, which were nothing, and to really mean that, I think that's so helpful. And I have learned through failure that this is so important, to communicate our expectations or our lack thereof, so it doesn't produce this awkwardness with other people and the hurt and the frustration. I've done this really wrong in the past, where I've gone into a situation with expectations and those have not been met, and then I've been very hurt and disappointed when the person had no idea that I had expectations of them. So doing a better job of clearly communicating that, I think it just makes all of life so much better. But then also examining my heart and making sure that I am lowering my expectations, and if I'm not communicating it, then I probably shouldn't have that expectation, because it's just not fair to put those things on other people, because people are human, and they, we just shouldn't put all those expectations on other people and then be hurt by them. So that's just what a little bit of my takeaways from chapter 7, and I'm learning so much and being challenged so much from this book, and I can't wait to see what the remaining chapters are about and how they impact me. But anyway, so that is from Rising Strong by Brene Brown, and I will be back tomorrow with more thoughts from the book. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and for those of you who are joining us at 3 p.m. Central Time for my Money Making Mom Scope on increasing your Facebook engagement and how to use Facebook well for a business, I'll see you then. And for the rest of you, I will see you tomorrow.